All right. Good evening, everyone. Today is September 19th, and it's the committee of the whole meeting for the Board of Education, and it is 6 o'clock. And Miss Joan, I have a quorum present.
I see it as well.
Okay, and did you see that we had our student rep Isaiah come join us?
I did see it.
Awesome. And it looks like Beverly has just signed on as well. All right, so I have called the meeting to order. The first order of business is the approval of the committee of the whole meeting minutes that occurred on September 12th. Do I have a motion for acceptance? I have Andrea. Do I have a second? Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of moving the committee of the whole meeting minutes of September 12th forward, please say aye. Aye. What does it say? All those opposed, abstain, motion has carried. All right, we are on our way past that one. All right. Okay, so what, for those of us who are not aware, what we tried to do for our two committee of the whole meeting minutes, or excuse me, for the whole meeting, is we break them up. One tends to be heavy on data and curriculum, and the other one we tried to have finance and facilities. Sometimes like they do get mixed, but we try to keep them as sort of separate as possible. Jay, my understanding, a lot of this has come out of the Finance and Facilities Committee. And so I'm looking forward to having your input on this stuff. But I believe the first thing that's on our agenda is the food nutrition program pricing. And I know that we have an attachment on that, but I don't know whether Jay, you would like to start the conversation or to pass it on to Ernie and Sam. What is your preference?
No, Ernie, we did discuss this in finance and facilities, and basically we were just curious as to how these numbers were arrived at. I think our default position is we don't ever want to raise lunch prices. However, we also know that inflation is transitory. Technology was for coming to these numbers. And I see we still don't have microphones for everybody.
So I checked in. So the question that Jay had was that we still don't have microphones. My understanding is actually we're going to try to be back into the annex, at least for the regular board meetings starting in October.
Okay.
And that's with the fingers crossed, but that's what I heard from
We were getting a lot of feedback from having individual microphones. That really wasn't working out that well. Can people hear us? Rita, can you hear Jay? You want to say something, Jay?
or actually, Phil, you've been on. Have you been able to hear everything that Jay said?
Yes, Jay's a little quiet, but I could hear him.
Okay. All right. So Jay.
I can hear him too. And thank you, Matthew, for pushing the mic closer to Jay, because initially I couldn't hear him.
Yeah, that seemed to help.
Okay, great. Good information. So if people who are online and you can't hear, just have that happen so that we can make sure that people on that land, whatever we call that, can hear as well. So that's about as far as I can do, bud, because it's a short leash. All right, so so do you want to just kind of start talking about this, Ernie? Thank you.
Let me just dive into it. So hello folks, good evening. So every year the USDA sets reimbursement rates, which is the reimbursements rates we get for the paid students, free students, and the reduced students. And every year we're supposed to be following what they do with their increase in reimbursements, we're supposed to be looking at our pricing, and we should be very comparable in pricing, which comes back to Jay's question, what was our methodology to this? So our reimbursement rate for a full pay student is $4.33 for a lunch from the USDA, and $2.67 for a breakfast. So we should be within 40-ish cents of that is what's an acceptable amount. We don't have to be right at it because we're fortunate enough, we do some outside catering, inside catering to help offset that cost. So that's acceptable to the USDA to add that into that. So in theory, 3 years ago, we were charging $1.50 for breakfast at the elementary and $1.75 at the middle and high school. So in reality, should we have raised our prices 2 years ago? We probably should have, but it wouldn't have meant nothing because we were operating on the USDA waivers, so there was no cost to any student at all. So we could have gone through the motion of raising those prices, but it wouldn't have meant anything. And that brought us to this point where now you're noticing there's a little bit sharper increase because we didn't do anything over the last 2 years because we were operating on the USDA waivers. So our proposal that Ken and I put together, basing it on that reimbursement rate and everything, is $2 for breakfast at the elementary and $2.25 at the middle and high school. Lunches, we're going from $2.80 to $3.25, and from $3 to $3.75 for the middle and high school. Again, $3.75 is still a little bit away from the $4.33, but we're able to use some of our outside income to be able to keep that amount lower. We never want to raise prices on our kids and our families. We never ever do. Unfortunately, we're forced to, if you will. USDA gives us that mandate, and we have to put in the reports and stuff on what we did. So in essence, it comes out roughly about 24% that we've gone up. And as we all know, the cost of goods, paper, raw materials and stuff, we've seen our costs anywhere from 25 to 35% across the board for fresh produce and stuff. And this year is no different with the extreme heat and drought and forest fires out west. A lot of our produce and stuff comes from the West Coast, and the cost of diesel and stuff, just putting it on a truck, getting it here. So we're seeing huge increases on everything. That's why we thought we would just kind of settle in that middle of the road while still being reasonable to our families and stuff. And I think just real quickly, the one other caveat is we were able to get 4 out of our 7 schools on CEP. So there is no cost to those families, which is huge. So we're really talking only of 3 schools. It's still 3 schools, I understand. But it's 2 of our elementaries and our high school. So the applications are going very good. When I say very good, we have stacks. We seem to be a little bit heavier than we have been over the last couple of years processing. So hopefully we're going to shake out where we got more SNAP students, we got more free or more reduced. So that's where the pricing comes into play with all of that, because I feel that at this point, when we get to the end of the school year, the uncollectible meal balances is certainly going to be a lot lower than 3 years ago, what we ended up, the district ended up having to pay. So that CEP was really a win-win for all of us. And that's where we've come up with the pricing. And if I miss anything, Ken.
So CEP stands for?
Community eligibility provision.
We're hoping
Thank
to do
you.
even better by collecting these. We're hoping that the potential could possibly be that all of Groton schools would be CEP. That's really a goal. But the board did ask me to check to see what would happen if, our free students, they get free lunch. Our reduced, though, do have to pay, and it can be really hard for them to pay. especially in this day and age and what they've been through. So what would it cost if Groton Public Schools use their Arbester monies to pay for the, families that are reduced? And then the people who can afford to pay will be paying. But at least we've covered our bases for the families that might need this. And so that segues into what this total would be. And Ken, you can
Yeah.
talk a little bit about
So
that.
that's the chart at the bottom of attachment number 2. And basically we took what we anticipated the reduced price student count to be based upon last year's numbers, times the reduced price that they pay. And because all the entire district is free through November 10th, we're calculating November 10th, it's like 75%. So our worst case scenario is that far right column on that bottom chart, which is the 15,612. That's assuming 100% participation. As Ernie knows, it's not always 100%. Students are out, or perhaps they don't take that breakfast or lunch. So it is something less than that, but that's your worst case scenario for this year, just for this year.
So if, the board wanted to do that, I think we probably have to go and take a vote on that. At the end of the month sometime. But I'd like to secure that information for families ahead of time. So if we're not waiting till November and letting them know, at least that would be encouraging for those families. It would also make sure that people are filling in their forms, because it really is going to offer them the opportunity to have breakfast and lunch for their kids.
And honestly, just real quickly, Ken's number of that 15,000, does represent 75%, but I'm confident that the number to this board would only be in the 10 to 11.5 range. I'm very confident in that because most students don't have breakfast. They'll do, some will have breakfast, the majority will have lunch, but it's not 100%. I think your number there, which is really great to know that that's the extreme it would be, but I'm telling you, it would be between 10 and 11.5 is what my gut's telling me.
So I'm going to recognize Rita, and then William, and then Matthew.
Hi, yes, Ernie. Is it possible to supplement the full price for our schools that are paying full price for their meals, to supplement those children and families, and not only the free and reduced lunch ones? I mean, are you saying that there are 72 in elementary for breakfast, 92 for secondary, 72 for lunch, 92 for breakfast? Those are the only students in the 4 schools, wait a minute, that's the 3 schools, the 2 elementary and 1 high school that receive reduced prices?
At this time. But if more people fill out these forms, we might find that there's more kids that would be
Right.
involved.
But still, is there a way then for us to supplement, if it's really not going to cost what it says here for the 75% of days, to somehow offset the cost of the full price meals for the 3 schools that do not receive the federal funding? No one wants to answer
Are
that.
you asking, Rita, how many students,
Yeah.
number of students who are paying full price? Is that what you're driving at now?
The ones that are paying full price, is it possible that we could supplement those, as we are going to probably do for the free and reduced lunch students at those 3 schools? Maybe not go up quite as much as we're going up, or I don't know. It just doesn't seem equitable to me.
I mean, I think what you're saying, Mrs. Volkman, that I'm proposing the $3.75 lunch for the high school. So if we were to say $3 for lunch, are you saying, is it possible that the board could pick up that 75 cents per
Yes.
anticipated amount?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. So
To help out, not only our the reduced lunch cost for students for those meals, but also our other students, because it's going to be a burden for families, whether they meet that goal or not, to be on free and reduced lunch.
Yep, and I hear you, and I know, Superintendent Austin, she's very adamant. She wants as many kids as possible. We've looked at every possible option. I know this board has too. The reason that the 375 is there is because if you fill out a meal application and on paper, you're supposed to be able to afford those meals. That's why that's there. Supposedly these folks are able to afford the breakfast and the lunch. I know there's so many circumstances that we can't factor in, because you don't put it, but it's certainly an option to think about if the board wanted to consider holding that amount at 3 or 325 and paying the difference going forward. I don't have the exact number of how many kids that could be. I could work on that for you and get that information sent over, but it's certainly a possibility.
Yeah, we could definitely calculate something, figure out what that would cost. One of the things that we did calculate it was a few months ago, but we calculated what the cost of the non-CEP schools was for the entire population, and it was something close to $1 million.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I can't really put into context what a reduction here would amount to, but we could certainly calculate something.
Well, maybe for the public, could you please tell us what the 2 elementary schools are and the population of the combined 2 schools? What are the 2 elementaries that do not
The
meet?
2 elementary schools not covered by CEP are Northeast Academy and Charles Barnum. Yeah. And the Fitch High School being the 3rd school.
Right.
The 2 elementaries is a combined population of around 600, I believe, right, 300 or so piece. And then at the high school, about 1,000 kids.
I'd say even close to 700.
Yeah, you think so? Yeah.
Yes.
Do we have data on how many out of those 1,600 would be full pay students?
We have last year data. Unfortunately, we haven't processed this year's
Yeah, I think we need
forms.
to process this year to see what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Last year, we were about 48 and change % free and reduced at the high school. We're very, very close at the high school.
What's our magic number?
All I gotta do is get to 50.5%.
Yeah, we need 50.5%, Rita, for
Right,
each
I
of our
know.
schools to be able to be full CEP.
Rita, that's an intriguing question. And so maybe we can get that data, and during our budget time, we can take a look if that is something that the board wants to sort of pursue. And then what are we not pursuing because of doing that? So that's an
But do
interesting.
we have to vote on these proposed price increases this month? Or can we wait till the November 10th deadline?
We want to communicate to our families and give them enough time to know what we're dealing with. But I don't know that we have to vote next week necessarily. We still have October, but I do want to get the information out ahead of time and communicate with them so that they can be ready.
I'm going to recognize Matthew.
So I'm hearing 2 different issues. The one is the immediate proximate issue of what we're going to do this year. And I see that as discrete. And the second issue, which is I'm not imagining inflation is going to go away next year. So the larger question, which I don't think we can address tonight, but which I'm hoping you may feel worthwhile to consider, is come up with some kind of strategy that we can anticipate that there'll be some level of inflation, and figure out if we can't do some more catering, or if we can't do some kind of workaround so we're not caught at the last moment next year. That's not a reproach, it's just an observation of inflation.
I'm going to recognize William, and then you, Beverly.
So I think something that would make everybody really comfortable is knowing that the assessment that we do to see who can get the reduced or the free lunches is a fairly robust process. And I mean, I have the form at home. My son keeps telling me we have to fill it out, but I said, no, I don't think we do. But so what are the financial, markers that individuals have to hit to have to pay full versus reduced versus free? And if that is kind of very clear, then I mean, I would be comfortable knowing that those that have the resources to pay will be paying for the full lunch. So, I mean, if everybody, I haven't really looked into the form that well, but, if it's, something that will really help those to get the reduced or the free, we have to look at, how do we spend the money? Do we use the money from whatever resources or from something else to pay for those that can pay for their lunch? And that's a budgetary thing that would be a challenge because, there's probably a million other things that we could be using that money for. So.
And I know that the process is such that kids use their badge. So there's no identification if you're paying for your lunch or you're not. And we don't even exchange cash. They would have to go to the cafeteria, I guess, to load their card if they want extras. Extras cost a lot of money. Ice cream, chips, I guess that stuff, right? So one of the things we always have been concerned about, that's why it's been so wonderful to have everyone to have free breakfast and free lunch, is there's no wondering who, has it and who doesn't, and so that's what I call equity. And that they only have to use their card to show that, to really for our head count more than anything.
Correct.
That's really nice. So I used to have to go on a separate line for my free meals.
Yeah.
In school. It was
Right.
embarrassing.
Or you weren't handed a meal if you didn't bring in your money, and that doesn't happen anymore either.
Yeah, I used to get the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Beverly,
Thank you, Kim.
absolutely.
Ernie, is this the 15,000 that you're proposing that the board has to spend? Is that in this year's budget? And if not, where are we going to get the money from?
So that 15,000 is not in the budget, but it is, so there are two things in the budget. We have a fund for unfunded lunch balances at the end of the year. That's in the board budget. And it's approximately, I think it's 23,000, I believe. And then we also have the possibility of using our ESSER to fund this 15,000.
And is it possible, like Vita is suggesting, to use ESSA to reduce the cost of the price for the full lunch? So instead of going up $3.75, go up to $3.25 or $3.50, and the board will pay the difference?
We'd have to work those numbers. If it's $1 million, I would say no.
Right.
But,
Can you
we have
work
to
those
out the
numbers?
math.
Okay. It shouldn't be $1 million because we're only talking about 25, 50 cents. So can you work those numbers for us and send it in board notes so we could see them, what those numbers
Sure.
look like?
Yep.
Thank you.
So I believe one of the reasons why it was in the finance and then came to the committee of the whole was then for us to have a vote on the setting of the price. So we are now looking for some new information, which is absolutely fine. How does the board want to move forward on the vote, which would be next week?
Well, how soon can they get us the information that we requested?
Point of information.
Yes.
Is it possible, is it possible? Is it comfortably possible for us to accelerate the effort to get people to sign up, whether we have the form that William alluded to and the note that we are 16 or 30 people short in the high school or 80 people short in the high school, please look this over. If you qualify, get it in now.
We were gonna plan on doing a reminder anyway. Yeah.
I mean, if we're able to demonstrate how close we are and that no student, nobody's gonna know who's getting one thing or the other. Maybe we can push ourselves over the top at one or more of these schools.
My concern about using our ESSER funds is that they're time limited, and then it would be done. And then I would be very concerned about such a huge increase, because it's from 3 to 375, and I would hate for it to be at 350. And then once those funding places go away, the families are then going to have to adjust to a much larger adjustment. And so my concern would be that as well. I just want us to kind of take some thought about that, and maybe you can take a look at a couple of other stones, Ken, and seeing what it would look like if we had a little bit of I'm not pronouncing them right, so I'm not even going to pretend, the funds that come to us through the federal government because of the pandemic. And then other funds from other places where we might be able to join that. Because once again, I would hate to have it, that's just me, I'm just one person, but I would hate to have us use just that and then have our families face a huge increase in terms of having their kids lunch and supper, breakfast and lunch, with what Matthew has been talking about and what Susan and Ernie were talking about prior to the meeting starting was, did Susan need to do another robo blast to get people excited about getting the forms in? I'm not quite sure excited is the right word, but
Motivated.
with that. Motivated.
Did you say the same one?
Yeah.
Motivated. I'll recognize Rita and then William. Sorry, she just is right in front of me. You're in my corner.
Sure. I would like to wait to vote till October, but I think a letter should go out to parents that these are the proposed increases and really stress the, encourage people to fill out those forms, that maybe we wouldn't have to do these increases if we, if everybody turns in their forms, and do a robocall for sure. They have to be in by October 1st, correct?
Yes.
So let parents know these are proposed increases, but it could possibly change, and we'll be voting on it at the end of October.
William, and then Beth.
So I just want to make sure that if we do decide that we're setting precedent for people that have resources to pay for things, that will then have the voice to say, well, we don't have to pay for anything.
Right.
If somebody else who's can't afford something and we support them, then I don't have to pay for that either then, because we get free lunch now. The school board, the town is paying for that. So I want them to pay for everything else too. So I don't know, and again, I'm new to the team, but I don't know if we pay for, those that are economically challenged, for fees for, sports and things like that, because then we're setting precedent that regardless of how much money you have, the school board will, and the town will pay for it all. And I don't think that's.
We do base scholarship and other things on free and reduced lunch, even the Chromebook insurance for kids who really have that need. But we can't do that for everyone. I'm just saying.
And that's what I'm worried about, setting a precedent.
Yep.
For them.
It's a good point. But let's get the information and see what that looks like. But William, that's a really good point. Beth?
Susan, are the forms cumbersome? And that's why parents don't want to fill them out? Are they easy to fill out or are
They're-
they very detailed?
They're much easier than SNAP forms. SNAP forms are the ones that families, low-income families fill out when they need insurance from the state of Connecticut and other things. And those forms are really helpful. The only problem is our military uses TRICARE, so they don't get that benefit.
Okay.
But these forms that Ernie has produced, they're online now, and they are much simpler than, and we have offered support in filling them out. So I know conferences, well, that's October 1. They won't be able to help after that, but open houses.
We've been at all. the open
Yeah,
houses.
Ernie's been at all the open houses to help families who might need some help. And I can add that to my letter, that all they need to do is call central office or call us, and we can help them.
Okay, and I'm not suggesting, for me, I'm not suggesting free lunch for everybody. I'm just suggesting a reduction in the prices of the lunch for the people who have to pay the full price. That's all I'm suggesting.
Thank you for the clarification.
That's what I'm suggesting also.
Okay. All right, good. Jay,
2 quick questions. Ernie, do we know the status of the community eligibility program and the possibility could be extended?
So our status is we have the 4 schools
Right,
certified for the next 4 years.
okay,
Started this September. So we're good for 4 years, breakfast and lunch. We always have the option to add a school or another block by linking, which is how we were able to gather the 4. Like I mentioned, we were super close at Fitch High School, super close. If everything shakes out by October 1st, when we submit all of our data to the state and everything, we have the option to go back in again and Tom Lonsdale and I will see where we're at. If I can grab another school and add it, we'll have, we start the cycle over. So the 4 would now get kicked out because we're adding a 5th, but it would start the 4-year clock again going forward. So it's good. It's not a bad thing. If something were to go wrong, we always have the option of backing out of it as well. Say this ain't working out, it's costing us a lot more money than we anticipated, which it won't. We have the option to come out of that CEP at any time during the school year, not just have to wait to the end of the year. But Jay, we can certainly add a school or 2 as we go along.
okay. And
That's
so
what
a
our
lot-
hope is.
And a lot's going to depend on these
Forms.
forms coming back, but then we're currently under a 100% paid lunch program until November 10th, even for schools not in the CEP. Have we heard anything about whether Congress is considering extending that program, or is November 10th the drop dead?
So right now it's November 10th is it. It's when we've anticipated when our funds will run out. We have to notify the public October 10th, a 30-day notice, and we'll do some more robocalls, letting folks know, hey, here's the costs and everything. This is why we did this. Well, we didn't, but the state did. They used their emergency money towards this. So that's, the only thing that we heard this morning was that there was 55 representatives, Democrats and Republicans, that are proposing a bill for universal school meals going forward because of the outcry over all the states. We're all in this, it's not just us. And a lot more school districts have bigger issues than we do. So they've all been lobbying their congressional delegates. And right now the discussion has opened that a bill is being produced and should be proposed. So far, they got 55 to sign on. What that means and when, it still has to pass.
And then, because Susan mentioned the fact that our military families are not evaluated at the same level because they get TRICARE, is that something we could look at in terms of, are the military families being evaluated improperly because they're using Husky standards? Is it
Not for
TRICARE?
the form that we're asking them to fill out for us.
Okay,
So I think it is fair. I have talked to
Okay.
Miranda because, you know, our military tends to be very proud and they
Right.
don't think they, you know, will get it. So we're saying that just fill it out because it could help you, it could help your neighbor. If, you know, the housing sometimes goes against them, they add that as income, I've heard, in certain circumstances, which they really should not. So,
so I was wondering if there was some way we could look at making that more equitable as well. If-
yeah, I
if
will.
There's something
I have
organic
my
about
military
the process.
superintendent liaison meeting this
Okay.
week, so I'll.
If there's something in that process that's working against them, you know, we need to really look at that as well.
Mhm.
Right, so I hear some of the action items is that Ken and Ernie are gonna get together with some more numbers. We will not put it on for a vote this next coming meeting. We don't have to necessarily wait to the end of October. We can always have a very quick special meeting just to vote on that issue. So don't feel like it's gonna wait.
Well, I have concerns if we're off, we need to communicate to families, that's by law.
October 10th.
And when, by October 10th, and we need to tell them what we're charging.
Correct at that time.
We
So,
might be on a little faster pace than I had.
so the first,
So the forms come back the first,
right,
and we have to send a letter by the 10th.
Well, no, we'll have some good information by then.
Right.
Yep.
but that won't necessarily impact how, when we put the vote, though. It would be nice to be able to communicate with our families
Well, we- Not
ASAP.
just nice, we have to do it.
We
by
have to
a
do
month
it.
Before 30 days prior. Yeah. So, you know, we can certainly wait. We'll have to prepare the message and get you the information and, you know, maybe add it, tack it to a special meeting or something. A special meeting tacked to the cow.
Because our first committee of the whole meeting would be October 10th.
Because the third we normally wouldn't meet.
I
Right.
mean, I think that we know that we're gonna have to raise these prices, is that right? We can't hold off another year,
No, I mean, I wish we had a choice. We just don't.
so that's different than what we can afford to pay. So I think that we probably should, I mean, it's up to the board, but move that vote forward because it's something that, you know, is expected to happen within that plus or minus range. And at least we would know what that's gonna be, and then we can work with who, you know, how many have come in and what that other number will be. Should we do a reduction?
So Susan, at what, stipulating that that's the right path to go, what are your thoughts on what level we should be setting prices at? Since there's been discussion about going with the price other than the tentatively proposed price.
Well, I understand that it's really based on the number that you're given for the price of food, the reimbursement rate, right?
The 267 and 433,
Right,
right?
So we have to be within a close range of that, and it looks like we're less than that on all our situations. Because we feel like we can take care of that through other funding.
I sort of feel like we're having two conversations. We kind of need to vote on the prices.
Right.
But then the
That's what I'm saying.
second conversation is about reimbursements.
How much can we subsidize?
How
the
can we
new
subsidize?
costs?
Right. So why couldn't we go forward? Am I making sense? Why couldn't we go forward with the vote on these two things? Because that's what we got to do anyways. But then our second part of the conversation is, do we subsidize how and for how much? Do I understand this, the
It's
thing?
okay, that makes sense.
Oh, Andrea, I'm sorry. I thought you were just waving at me, but I think you're doing more.
No, we've had the experts present all of the data to us. And as far as I'm concerned, I think we should vote tonight.
No, not tonight. That would be next month, next Monday.
That's what I meant.
Okay.
But I think we should go on what we've been presented. It's been well thought out. And I agree with Dr. Tell me the last name.
Corbin.
That successful, why would we not want to recognize that success and pay the share that that's why you go to work and become successful, so that you can support the community in that way. And why deny anybody that opportunity?
Interesting reflect. Any other question about that? So, so we should be anticipating something in board notes, at least with the mention saying we couldn't get the information about what funding sources or what that would look like in terms of the price, right? Okay. But we're still gonna go for a vote. I'm gonna recognize Beverly and then Lillian.
Okay, so are we voting on these prices here before we find out if there's a possibility that we can reduce the full price lunches by a quarter? What are we
Yes.
doing here?
Yes, we have to vote on the increase based on what the USDA is expecting based on their reimbursement rate. So we are charged to do that anyway, but we can get you information to help you figure out what would be the cost if we were to then take and reduce that for just 1 year.
Okay, my other suggestion, and this isn't, I don't want it to sound like a negative, but we shouldn't be voting on this stuff at the last minute. This stuff should come to us, a little sooner, so we don't have to feel rushed that we have to vote on it and pass it right away, that we have time to think about it and discuss it. So, because now we got to do this. So if we could try to get this information, if we know there's a deadline, try to get it to us in a timely fashion. That's all I'm
Well, I
saying.
think that the USDA, we've just gotten that number. So we've tried to bring it to you as quickly as we could. We do bring it through finance first, finance and facility, as you know, you're on that committee. But we really felt it needed to be discussed with everyone and then go, next week was the hope to bring it. So that gave us a month before we really had to notify everybody.
So if we're looking at 75 cents for breakfast and lunch, that's $1.50 a day, right? And we're looking at about 700 students that would be paying the full price. That's about $200,000. So actually $189,000 for 180 school days. Is that the data that we're looking for?
Good
180 days of $1.50 for 700 students, that's $189,000.
That's,
If we
that's-
reduced it,
count the
if we
high
stuck with $3 instead of $3.75.
You have another 500 kids at the high school.
So if it's not 700, it's more than 700.
Yeah.
Probably
700
good.
would be for, oh, wait. I'm sorry.
if we're talking just about the full price students,
The full price students.
I guess 700 is rough.
No, I mean, it's just a rough number,
But,
just so everybody
um,
has a rough number in their mind, it's.
Participation would be something less than 100%. So we'd have to calculate, but
I mean,
But it's
pretty
what
close.
do you give up to get what you
Right.
get? Economics 101. And I think that those RFSers have been very carefully planned. So any shift that I make in the RFSer funds, I'm held accountable for those funds with the State Department. And we have things like HVAC systems. And I know there's a new HVAC grant, but even with the grant, you have to pay at least 20% of the funds or more. So let's say we hit the jackpot and get the HVAC partially taken care of, we're still gonna have to use some of those HVAC funds. And because we've had some HVAC issues, we've had to do additional HVAC work. Right, Sam? So I just have to be very careful that the things that we've identified that are coming in this 4-year plan, I can cover. So
Those are
it's not
temporary.
like that it's
Right.
not like man.
Can't be temporary.
And those are temporary funds. We
200,000.
don't want to
Yeah,
build
those are temporary funds.
we don't want to build a whole structure based on shifting sands. and
Right.
RFS.
Matthew.
I understand the focus on the issue at hand. but speaking only for myself, the ARPESER funds are designed to help those who are been impacted by COVID. And the major thing that is the board, I think we've addressing is the educational loss and the social impact. And to expend ARPESER funds to feed people for a year, or to give a break for a year, I think we could use those funds to try to remediate some of the academic and social impacts. It's just a personal opinion.
I think we're gonna move forward for the, and know that we're going to move forward on the vote. But then also getting some information about whether we can decrease the price number, but I would much rather have it be that way versus saying a smaller number, but then not being able to do it and have the families jump to a higher level. So I think that we need to move forward with the vote. Let's get some more information about where we would get those funds, what that would look like. This has been a good conversation. Appreciate that. If there is no further on this, let us move on to transportation update and the cost of the small buses. Ernie, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And I'm so glad that we were able to get you at the beginning. All right. Talk to me about cost of small buses. And I believe that this also has come through the finance and facility as a first law.
So the
You got the number.
the cost of a bus for 2023 is $366.71 per day. So for 181 days, the annual cost $66,375 approximately. I believe it's 2 buses that we require. So the total additional cost that we're looking at is $132,750 approximately.
And again, that's regardless of whether it's a full size.
I get, and one other cost that's not included in here would of course be the cost of the fuel to run the bus, which we pay for, and we're actually going to be talking about in the next point. But if we do have additional buses, we may be able to reduce some of the run sizes. So it's not definitely a one-for-one increase, but there'd definitely be an increase in fuel consumption.
Is the driver's salary in that?
So the $366.71 we pay to the bus company is for the bus as well as the salary.
But we pay fuel separately.
But we pay for the fuel separately.
It's the bus, the maintenance, and the drivers.
Right.
And we need these 2 small buses. Okay.
Ken, are you saying we pay for the salaries of the drivers?
Well, we do through the
We
contract.
pay a rate
Rate.
to the bus company. They pay the salaries.
So, so what's the rate that we pay for the drivers? Is that $19 an hour?
All we have is a rate that we pay the bus company. How they allocate that
okay.
to the drivers and the other costs
Mm.
The rate comes through as the price per bus,
per bus
per day.
per day.
So you said we pay $366 a day for the bus and $66,375 a year per bus?
Yes, that's what 366 times 181 is.
Okay. Thank you.
And would this be coming out of this year's budget?
This year.
Okay. And did finance and facilities kind of talk about where in our budget this would come from?
We asked.
So there is a reduction of 1 FTE at Mystic River, 1 teacher reduction that will partially offset that. Other savings in salaries for unfilled positions, possible review of the site budgets and ARPESER are the other areas we're looking at to fund this shortfall.
Beverly?
Can you tell me again, how many buses are you talking about?
Two.
Two?
Two.
Two
Okay.
additional. Yep.
And why do we need these buses? I must have missed something here.
The number of special education preschool little children who need car seats, and, you know, we just had an increased number. So, and they don't, you know, they don't carry too many children, what, about 15, I think? For the small buses, 15 children.
Try to stay less than that because you have bus aids on there too, so. That would be maximum. We had well over that. And you need to spread them out more than that on the bus.
Jay, and then Rita.
And my understanding is we have displaced students in temporary housing all around town
And outside of town as well.
and outside of town that we are responsible, and rightfully so, for picking up, and that those actually change sometimes.
In 15 minutes, they're moving.
Yeah. So
I've heard.
I assume we're using some of these more agile vehicles to go to these temporary housing locations.
We're trying to grab them on routes that already exist for the most part, yes.
Oh, okay.
It might be curtain livery service at some point, depending on where they are.
Okay.
We
And
had somebody on the Stonington side of Mystic, for instance, that we had to get with a curtain van. We were able to get the kids in New London on one of our buses that delivered kids to the other side of the river. We were able to grab them on the way back.
How many students do you think are in that status? On
Well,
average?
the attorneys only showed me 4 to 6 families.
Oh,
But there's many more than that, I think.
We think there's more than that, but those are how many have actually asked for the service or gone through the attorney to get the service.
And if they are displaced into another community, like over in New London or Stonington, we do work with the other superintendents and we try to share the expense on those.
So these are students, Rita, I promise, these are students that have been displaced largely because of the incidents that have occurred over at Branford Manor, or are there other places?
That's what
That's-
they are, Branford Manor
Branford Manor.
residents. And so there may be more families moving out as they move through the buildings, some coming back, some going out. So the numbers could increase or decrease depending upon where they're moving.
So this was for the mold and abatement that was
okay.
being done in Branford Manor. I saw your inquisitive look.
Great.
Rita, thank you for your patience.
Oh, my question is, what is our reimbursement for our students who ride buses? I know the federal government reimburses for our, we get a reimbursement from the federal government for our students and our buses, correct?
We get a reimbursement for out of district transportation to the schools that are in the New London district, for instance.
Or barn.
But
Or-
but I always thought that we received some type of reimbursement for children on our buses. Because when we would have parents that would come from Sacred Heart or other communities, they would tell us that, well, listen, you get federal money for the buses.
Not that we're
Don't
aware
get-
of, no.
We don't get any form for the money from the number of students we have on our bus.
No, the only reimbursement we get is for out of district Groton students that are going out of district to the schools, magnet schools.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
No problem. I understood that the lawyer is going to be here later today. Lloyd, did I
Yes.
overhear that? Would it be appropriate to ask him whether he would look into whether the displacement of these families, some might say, due to the laxity of the management of Branford Manor, that would be considered a tort And we might be able to recover some of these transportation costs from Branford Manor ownership or management. I'm not asserting that, I'm just asking you this question.
I have no idea about how to
Could
answer that.
we ask him if that's a possible way to?
It's not on the agenda item. We can ask him tonight, but I can definitely
Okay.
get that to
Sure.
him. I wonder if there's a lawsuit that is with the town and whether we could be part of any or excuse me, the city. I'm wondering if there's a lawsuit with them and maybe we could do that, but I will ask him.
Fine. I have no answer.
Yeah,
But to be clear, this cost we're talking about here,
there's nothing to do about Branford Man.
but point taken that there is additional costs that we're incurring.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
I wonder, okay, that might be interesting information for us to have at some point about what is the cost for the district, but. Okay, so any other question about about the fact that we need those two small buses at a cost of $132.75? Am I somewhere close?
Close.
Yeah.
Or 750?
Yeah, 132,750, very good.
Right, okay. I can almost be taught. And so that, but that Ken is working on finding the different places where we can get the money for this year. But it looks like we're gonna be needing to be thinking about that as you guys go into contract details, okay? All right, any further question about that? If not, I'm gonna move us on to heating fuel cost increase. Having fun? Like a lot of fun
We
stuff.
call this the inflation
Yeah.
COW.
Right.
So I'm going to share the schedule I put together. Everybody can see that. So when we set the budget last year for this year, it was December, January of last year, the cost of heating oil and diesel were not quite where they are now. So we had used, I think, $2.85 a gallon for heating oil and $2.75 for diesel. The actual cost coming in, we are part of a consortium for heating oil and diesel. It's the RESC Alliance Heating Oil and Fuel Consortium. And it's us, along with a number of other boards of ed, as well as municipal offices, such as the town of Groton is also part of that alliance. And they last week decided that we should lock in at these rates. And so you'll see that for heating oil, $4.14. And for diesel, $4.24. Now, folks will say, such as myself, I bought heating oil this morning for just around $4. It is true you can get heating oil cheaper than that. I'm not too sure about diesel, but what we're buying here is a locked-in price throughout the winter. It's anticipated that the cost for heating oil and for diesel is going to spike over the winter with the colder weather, with the current inventories and supply issues, where it's anticipated that these costs are going to go up. So the consortium decided to lock in at these rates, and so this is going to be a hit to our budget by quite a bit. See the numbers. So for heating oil, about $100,000 more than what we had budgeted. I'm going to skip over natural gas for now, and then for diesel, $140,000 more than what we had budgeted. So these are scary numbers, but I think that if we had not locked in, that we would be exposed to even scarier numbers.
William,
Is the locked-in number up to a set number of gallons?
Yeah, we had to
And then it goes
identify the
after.
number of gallons. that we
So
were
is it
anticipating.
for just the 80,000 gallons?
Yep.
And then after that, it goes up to whatever market
It would be
value is?
whatever market.
Okay, so we're pretty confident though that the 80,000 is, will be at or below.
Yeah, that's what we typically run for a year. Of course, weather will play into it. It could be more or less depending on weather. But with the way, so we have new buildings, so that's kind of where we landed. We'll see this year if that plays out, but yeah, we feel pretty confident about the 80,000 gallons.
Jay,
So was there a cost for us to lock in?
No cost to lock in.
Okay. And it's a lock, it's not a cap.
Well, it's a lock, not a cap. Yeah, that's the number. There's no up or down.
Okay, yeah, because in some schemes you pay a fee for
Yeah,
a cap, and if the market goes lower, you get the.
the
lower price.
consortium looked into that, 48 cents a gallon to have a cap.
To have a cap, okay.
So that's
So
quite.
instead, we got a lock for free.
well,
Okay.
like for free.
Sort of.
Bev and Rita, were you able to hear the conversation? Both gentlemen that were speaking have lower voices. Were you able to hear?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then just quickly, I'll go over natural gas. Our 3 newer buildings, as well as Fitch High, use natural gas because the lines go right by those buildings. And for those, we actually have a contract for the 2 newer elementary schools that was in place. The middle and high school had to have new contracts put in place this year, which is why the cost is so different from the elementary schools. That's what happened over a 6-month period. Wow. Crazy.
I will probably be working with principals on their site budgets, just making sure that they are very cognizant of these increases, and we'll probably say hold off on spending the whole amount, whether it's 25%, 30% that I hold on to just so we make it through the year.
I'm going to do Andrea, then Matthew.
I just wanted to know how long the cap is for. Is it for a year?
1 year.
1 year?
1 year. Yeah, through next August.
Matthew.
So I'm display my ignorance once again. Do we have technology in the schools that automatically lowers and raises temperatures, lowers them, say, 45 minutes after we expect them to be vacant, and raises them an hour before school starts so we can control our usage?
Yes. We have a building management system, yes, and we have a technician that looks those over each morning and each afternoon.
So that's a thank you is underlined.
And we get reminded when there's an open house or something with parents.
Yes.
That we have to keep the heat going. and the air conditioning
Yes.
going.
So not only are these numbers kind of sobering, but it does drive our thoughts about our budget year and thinking about what
Inflation does.
that we're thinking about having to put a lot more money to operational costs versus what we do really well, which is the education.
And we
So-
might want to start thinking about what we want our thermostat set at, our temperatures in our rooms as well. So if we want to make a cap on what we set those at the high end and the low end of those numbers, that's for another day.
Right, for Andrea and I, that would be 90.
Yeah.
But that's just saying.
Makes you think of the 70s. Remember when the
Yeah.
federal law setting the temperature in public buildings?
Dr. Ackerman doesn't like that idea.
I can remember going to school and having my arms out like this because I couldn't bend them down. Any further questions about the fuel? All right, hearing none, I'm going to be moving us along to the field house study recommendations. And Jay, was this also part of you guys did a lot.
Yes, we talked about this quite a bit. Because there's a few pieces to this.
Could you just set the stage and then for the people who need to please add on?
Well, I mean, we have two structural issues up there, we talk about a field house, but we have the 1957 field house, right? It's currently being used as a public restroom, visitor team,
Concession stand.
and a concession stand, visitor team, changing rooms and concession stand. Then we have the newer building, which has the issues, of equity with there just being changing rooms. For basically the football team, the male members of the football team. And the concern that came up a few years ago when we had a female football player and didn't have facilities. So there's two buildings we need to look at, and there's a few different issues that we need to address up there. And on top of all that, we have a town athletic fields committee that's charged with coming up with a unified plan for how all sports facilities are going to be looked at and how their renovations are going to be funded. And we also have those on the committee that sort of want to reorient the football field, which could totally change where these structures, would work. So there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle.
Can we tell if Mark Romano is on?
I thought the athletic director was going to be on tonight.
Mark, are you on?
It doesn't look like his number to me.
Oh, darn. So, Sam, do you have,
Yeah, I have an idea what the architect made three versions of what could be done, and the group selected the version that would essentially remodel the existing concession stand. I'm sorry, remodel the existing field house, have a connector to it in another section so that you would have both male and female locker rooms. And then redo the concession stand.
redo, like demolish it and build back up?
Either demolish, depending upon which word, they didn't do a study on which would be cheaper right now, but so it would either be demolished and rebuilt or just reconditioned. So that was what they selected as their choice, as the committee's choice.
And who selected that?
That's Mark Romano and the group that was working with the architect on it.
So did that plan include the completely unacceptable substandard public restroom facilities?
Yeah, it would do lavatories over there
Okay.
too, yes.
And would it also provide for visitor changing rooms
Yes,
for both
yes.
genders?
Where do visitors change now?
In the concession stand, there's a, what used to be the locker room
Oh,
section of that building.
okay.
That building that we look at that's covered in graffiti, I guess
Yeah.
that was the 1957 field house, right?
Yes,
Am I getting the vintage correct?
yeah, it was
And-
mostly for the football team.
Yeah.
The football team, varsity and JV actually changed that building back in the day.
And the building,
once, so.
the building behind that, the two-story building behind it that many people call the field house is like a 70s.
1971, I believe, but I was out of country when that was done.
Rita?
Hi, yes, I had a question about, is this also used by the track team?
Yes,
Or,
the track team does use the field house.
because I remember when my daughter was on track, the girls had to go all the way up to the high school to use the bathrooms and the visiting teams. And yet the boys were able to just run up to the field house. So you're saying, what is the timeline of this? Like this proposal to redo the concessions stand and bathrooms and so forth for everyone?
Well, we'll need a price and a CIP.
Yeah, I think that, I think the next step is actually to bring it to the facilities committee and then to the board so that they can determine exactly which plan they would prefer to go with the one that's been selected or an alternate one. And then once we determine that, then it would go into a request for a CIP project.
So have we missed this cycle?
No,
Not yet.
Not yet, but getting close.
Yes.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, this whole thing would then have to go to the athletic fields task force created by the town council for the overall town project, which is anticipated to require a referendum and a bonding. So I don't think, I know one of the numbers that was bandied about just for this portion of the project is 15 million. And we're not going to do a CIP for 15 million.
Right.
That has to be bonded.
has the architect given us any numbers at all?
It was in that range that Jake's. I don't
But
have that
the
plan
15
with me.
million doesn't include the football field,
Right.
and it doesn't
Or the
include all of
bleachers.
the other field improvements, including Colchester.
That's just the building structures, those.
Yeah, so once the athletic fields task force puts all of its plans together, which they met for like a year straight, we have no idea what that final number is going to be. It'll blow any CIP out of the water. It'll have to be another townwide referendum and bond. So this is not something that will be happening next year.
Jay, could you tell me what you were talking about repositioning the football field?
Well, some of the members of the athletic fields task force had suggested that they want to rotate the football field 90 degrees and put in new bleachers and a new approach. And they were concerned about how that was going to affect, well, concerns me too. How does it affect things like the tennis courts and the other buildings that will be there?
The track.
And track.
Yeah. So, and again, the committee has met for well over a year, and it's been completely at a standstill for about 6 months while they come up with a vision for the Colchester property. So this is all, at this point, it's all just proposals. They haven't made a final recommendation to the town council.
Right. One of the proposals would be to do an artificial field at the high school. And if they did that, whether they rotated it 90 degrees or not, when you do an artificial field, you would do it for 3 or 4 sports at the same time. So it would actually change the shape of the track. The track would actually get maybe wider space, shorter but wider. So the entire track and the field would be done at the same time, along with the new bleachers.
Yes, we need those for sure. They're dangerous.
The bleachers are outdated, yes.
Beverly?
Thank you. Jay, what would be or Sam, what would be the reason to reposition the field? And would that cost extra if we did that?
I don't know what their reasoning was for that. I didn't. It was just reported to us that some members were thinking about turning the field 90 degrees.
Jay, are you on that task force, Jay? Do you know the answer?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't remember the justification that the gentleman who proposed that, what his justification was for why that would be a good idea. And I certainly am not saying that that's going to happen. It was just a proposal.
Yeah, okay.
And, yeah. And of course, I think we should have a say in that.
Yeah. Sam, when you give us the numbers for the field house and the concession stand, are you going to give us numbers renovate as new and new? Are you going to give us like those 2 type of numbers?
Yes,
If we
can get
build
that.
new or if we renovate?
Yeah, I'll talk to the architect. We'll get those numbers to you.
Okay, thank you.
But Beverly, to your point, I'm like sort of hearing that it's still going to be way above what a CIP is talking about, right?
Yeah, and then it'll go on to athletic fields. And then it'll ultimately be decided by the town council.
So I guess my question is, how does the board want to proceed? It just seems like we're talking in a vacuum, not to say that you guys are not giving us information. That's not my point. But I'm wondering, is at some point, do we meet together as a town council with the athletic field and to have like a conversation about, because we're stalled.
Right.
And we have a football field that continuously is being marked as not safe or needing to be, what's that word?
Roll,
Crowned.
compacted,
Doing something with it, because it,
crowned, oh,
crowned,
recrowned.
recrowned, I knew it was something.
But Kim, I would go with your suggestion that we should meet with them because, and with the town council and the athletic field task force. Because
Yeah, that
first of
was-
all, go ahead.
Because to put forward, I mean, our CIPs around the football field and athletic field have been pushed aside anyways since I've been on. So I will be more than happy to reach out to Juan, Mayor Melendez, and Town Manager Burt and see if there's any taste for the bodies to get together.
Mark Romano actually suggested that we get together when the task force sort of reconstitutes. But as I said, everything's on hold.
But maybe this task force needs to know that what they're thinking about or what they're doing has large implications for us doing our budgets, for the town doing their budget, and that to come up with a plan, because it sounds to me that this package is a large package. What I've heard you say is that this is a large package and it's not going to be a CIP. So let's do that so that the community knows that we're not just, we know what our state of our field house is. We know what our state of our football field is, but it's part of a larger mission, and which is how we worked so hard to get our two schools and our three schools, is that we were able to continuously talk about the need of why. So I will be more than happy to do the reach out if the board
I
is
think we were
willing to do
waiting
that.
on this study
Okay,
in order to have something to talk about.
okay,
Because right now we could meet and greet, but we needed this study to go to the task force and have a discussion.
And I'd like the
Because-
architects to have numbers too. for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, because we didn't know what we were talking
Well,
about.
would it be wise then to have the architect come before you and bring all three proposals and the numbers with her at that point? So that you could determine what you want to go forward to the task force with.
I'm feeling that it would become unruly, but then, or does the architect come with the numbers so that every of the three bodies, they have knowledge of it at the same time? Ultimately, it's going to be, is it ultimately our approval of it?
I think
if it's a
ultimately it's the
town?
town council.
I was going to say, so it's not even ours to
Mm.
own,
Yeah, I mean, we certainly have input,
right?
but the town council has created this athletic fields task force to have a unified townwide plan that covers every athletic field and facility.
Okay,
And they did prioritize Fitch High School as their #1 priority in the beginning of this whole thing.
Yeah.
I do recall. And the board did take on the cost for the planning,
Right.
both this and also culinary arts. We
Yeah.
took that on ourselves.
right. All right, I'm going to recognize Andrea, Matthew, and then
My
Rita.
question's been answered.
Oh, your question then, you were just waving at me. Andrea,
I know this is a little reductio out of sort of, I'm gonna reduce it to absurdity. But I understand all of the high flown ideas that are there that have hard implications. But this is a question for Sam. And I'm wondering if we can put away all of this until it, it goes through all the proper channels and just get a can of paint to rectify that building that's on the field. That is such a damning statement to all of our teams and our visiting teams. And we need to just clean that up. How much of a cost are we talking about?
It was about $6,000 a year they were spending on the paint in order to do it. But I think we could we could do something for less than that, but then we have to, the agreement with the senior class a couple of years ago was that we would trade the graffiti on the concession stand for allowing them to paint their parking spots. When Dr. Grenier was still here. So that was the agreement with the senior class. And there hasn't been a lot more graffiti on that building, although there has been, who could tell really, but I mean, there have been a couple of items. So if we paint it, then we will have to be a little more assertive and going after people that put graffiti back on it if we paint it again.
We have a senior right here. We could actually talk to the senior class about that agreement.
Maybe we could have the seniors come out and help paint it. No,
I was precisely thinking that if the seniors and the juniors, next year's rising seniors, were engaged in the painting with adult supervision, they would have ownership of that, much more ownership than if we did it.
Think about the insurance.
Yeah.
But I would agree that if you would do that.
All by yourself, sir.
Yeah, no, I meant to speak to the class.
Or did you want to say something to us
Yes,
about
so
that?
that actually sounds like an undertaking that would be great with our student athletic advisory committee, which I'm part of. It's a group that Mr. Romano runs at our school, maybe once a week. I think it probably would be an initiative that you'd be interested in,
And how do you feel about it?
about painting the concession stand. Like,
About, I don't care who paints it, about getting rid of that.
I know that at one point it was a fun tradition for the seniors, but if I were a visiting team or just visiting spectators and I witnessed that on the concession stand, I don't think it would give the greatest atmosphere. Yeah.
I think it was definitely worth it to have your own parking spaces.
Yes.
I'm going to recognize Rita and then Beth.
Yes, Sam, haven't our bleachers been deemed unsafe?
Have the bleachers been deemed unsafe?
I haven't
Yes,
gotten any,
because of the.
no, I haven't gotten
space.
any report on that, but they are outdated and they should be upgraded for sure. They should have
Oh,
backs.
I thought it, right, not only that, but I thought the space between them was too great and, the bleachers and people or small children could fall between. I thought we had a report on that a few years ago.
I haven't had any report on it, but they definitely need to be upgraded with backs.
Yes.
On them.
So, I mean, why would we want to wait to do that? I just thought we were, that was supposed to be done years ago, the bleachers. That can't be a separate CIP. We have to wait for the athletic fields.
I would say it would be part of the overall project.
And the town has not been entertaining any CIPs revolving around athletic fields until the athletic fields task force comes back to them. That's why they are not doing the crowning of the field. We need to really nail down whether they're going to flip that field. And again, I'd like to know, I think there needs to be a really compelling
I think that
reason why we need to do
one
that.
of the reasons, one of the reasons may be if they do the artificial field and it gets wider, that pushes the track further out, which would push what are now the visitor bleachers down the hill further. So they probably were thinking if they turned it the other way, they're on level ground at both sides of the field then probably.
I'm going to recognize Beverly and then Isaiah.
I know Dr. Ackerman talked about the outside of the building of the concession stand, but what about the inside and the bathrooms?
Right.
They were, the concession stand bathrooms were painted, not last summer, but the summer before that, just so I don't, it would have been 2 summers ago that the concession stand lavatories were upgraded, or at least scraped and repainted.
And what condition are they in today? Have you checked on that lately?
Of the what?
What condition are they in today? Have you checked on it?
I haven't been in there this year yet, but I can do that.
Thank you. And what about the concession stand, where we give out the food and prepare food? What is that like in there?
What's the question?
What is it like inside where they're preparing the food?
It's not a very large space and it's mostly taken up by cabinets and countertops, refrigeration, freezers, those sorts of things.
What kind of changes do we need to, can you hear me? 'Cause I
Yeah.
can, okay, what kind of changes do you need to make to upgrade that concession stand?
Well, I think if you talk to the Booster Club, they would like a larger space with more modern and more convenient appliances. More space to prepare foods, because they do take, they can't cook inside that. They do have a stove in there and a microwave, but they usually take grills outside to do the cooking for the most part.
Yeah.
And they'd probably prefer to have it inside if they couldn't be serving out of a serving window of some sort.
Did the architect design that in her
I
plan?
have to look at that, but I don't think it was a full design. It was an idea.
Do Isaiah and then William.
Just to add to Mrs. Bolton's sense of urgency regarding the bleachers, I know that like last game against, or last Thursday against New London, when we try to get a student section on the bleachers and like a big crowd of people all together in one area, many people complain about how the bleachers feel like each plank feels wobbly when there's a lot of people on them, and I can feel them moving. And as for the space in between the bleachers, I know a lot of items fall in between.
Hopefully not people.
Not people that
Not
I've
people,
heard of
yeah.
so far, but
Do we need to have some type of safety check now that it's out public? I don't know. I'm gonna do William. and then Matt.
So last year, my daughter missed, she's in 11th grade. When we went to a game and we saw all the graffiti and everything, said, you know, another school had, so what they did was each grade owned an area of that and did their own art design. You know, and so students in any art program in the 9th grade, the 10th grade, 11th, grade, you separated it out, the building out, and they owned that. And they would design it each year. They would do their own, you know, thing based on whatever was going on in their class or things like that, and come up with ideas with the art teachers, and they would make, you know, it be a project. And they're currently, my daughter's IB art class or whatever, right now their project is going around Fitch and looking at things that need to be upgraded by art design. So there's pipes that are exposed, and they're doing designs with art to make the pipes look nicer and things like that. So we have, you know, students that are very interested in things like that and would be very interested in possibly updating that.
Don't lose that idea.
Yeah, I would love that.
That's a great idea, but don't lose that. Because I don't know if that is our solution to that small building, but don't lose that idea. 'Cause that would be kind of cool. Matthew.
If I'm understanding Jay correctly, the project is stuck in a variety of town committees, and we're kind of paralyzed moving forward. So I would offer for a question, would it be appropriate to have a board member go and look at the facilities with facilities? And then, based on the assessment, perhaps invite the town council and the RTN to come and see the bleachers, come out and stand on the bleachers, feel the bleachers move, explain what the liability is, and perhaps that would incite some movement forward. Just an idea.
And it's an interesting idea, and I think that, but it sounds to me like this is all part of the project. I think I would much rather have it get embedded in the conversation with the town council and the field study. And to talk about the fact that the longer that we're waiting, we're having an unsafe bleacher situation? What about the safety of our football field? I mean, I think, and also the structures that we have that are supposedly what our flagship school is supposed to look like, and they come down and they see our concession stand and field house.
And
not
also
a-
equity issue too, Kim.
Absolutely, ma'am. You took the words right out of my mouth. Thank you.
And
Equity, it's an equity issue.
And the town council and the athletic fields committee has talked for many years about the conditions of that entire space, from the
Yeah.
field to the bleachers, to the concession stands, to the lack of equity, as we mentioned, with the changing facilities. And so this is the biggest open secret, that there is, and nobody denies it. But
Yeah.
it's tied up in this process that's been set.
Yep. Thank you, guys. Another really great conversation. The action item that I am leaving with is that I'm going to get a hold of the mayor of the town and to see if we can have a joint meeting between the town council, the field studies. We'll have more information from the architect and ourselves to kind of see if we can help people move forward on this.
And can we get copies of what has been done so far, the proposals so far?
Yeah,
So we can be familiar with them before
absolutely.
we meet and sort of get an idea of what we want to support.
All right, I'm going to be moving us on to the referral tracking sheets. And also part of that would be also the suggested future topics. So looking at the committee of the whole, a lot of this stuff is actually ongoing or at a different month. Does anyone see anything that we need to be either taking off?
Is putting the issue of possible cost recovery on transportation due to the Branford Manor situation, something that should be on the cow, or is that something you just want to make some private inquiries?
I think that probably is a staff issue, saying that we kind of want them to kind of see if that is, and I think that's
Super.
ongoing. At least that is my thinking about that. Suggested future topics.
And where do we put when the principals are supposed to come to the committee of the whole and we're supposed to have a discussion with the principals?
Yep.
Does that go on this tracking sheet?
We could absolutely put that on the tracking sheet. We're talking about this happening on a regular basis. Is that what that's what you're referring to?
Well, they're going to be ready to go with action plans based on our data very shortly. So that could possibly happen.
So-
I see Phil there to.
Okay.
So I think Beverly, that also kind of comes off of our where we have month-to-month like some of the
Board.
topics that we're supposed to go through.
The board template.
Yeah, the board template. And so
I'm just wondering though, have the new members seen the board template?
I believe, actually, I think I know that with William, I went through the
Okay.
board template. But I think,
Like this.
but it carry it wherever I go. But I think that when we talk about data, it should include school personnel, necessary school personnel to talk about that. Because I think Beverly, you are correct. We need to make sure that we have staff coming in to share that with.
We
For
also
future,
talk about the climate survey that we did. Remember the climate survey?
I
And
do
have a-
remember the climate survey.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll
And
be
how
prepared.
disappoint-
They'll be prepared to talk about that in October. I think we're looking at October, right? Susan?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put that down as a future topic. Don't know why it didn't get down there, but it's on mine, and it looks like we're gonna do that in October with some data for both climate and also for action plans. I have two that I would like for the board to consider. Is how did our snack shack do over the summer? I just, when I saw Ernie, I was thinking about that, and I don't know if we just get a report out, but I would also like to hear about what the future plans are, like how we moving, are we gonna move forward and continue to be at Eastern Point Beach? But so I guess I would love to hear about that, and maybe we could tie in school summer lunches.
Yeah, how did that?
Yeah, how did that
program
all?
go over the summer?
Yeah,
Summer meals.
summer meals,
right.
summer meals on all
I
levels.
know that every camp, we had a camp in every school and everyone got breakfast and lunch.
Very nice.
And then in additional places too.
You're right.
And then the other thing is, one second, the other thing that I heard was that the school, I think Rita, you talked about this last meeting, is that the state has taken away the ban on magnet schools. And I'm just wondering if we need to talk about that as a board, about what that means. And finding out whether we have, what's our space capacity on that? And what we
I
could
will
offer that.
find out more information, but oftentimes when you have an inter-district magnet, they build you a school. And they make it an inter-district magnet. So I have my eyes set on that.
Okay, so maybe we need to have more
I'm gonna
information
talk to
about that.
Kate, my friend Kate Erickson at Lime.
Okay,
Nice.
so maybe Susan, if you could at least at the beginning, keep us in,
Yeah.
in the loop. Thank you, in the board notes. I have no idea where my thinking is. Matthew, did you have?
Yeah, it says for discussion on career pathways that that's going to be biennial. I don't remember how that happened. Was there some rationale for that?
I think we just wanted to make sure that it was on, it was on a regular basis to talk about how that went.
Once every 2 years?
Oh, I thought it was twice a year.
There's twice a year.
Okay, my bad.
All right. Okay, so anything else for that? If hearing none,
Curriculum. I'd like to make a referral to curriculum.
When we do that, I think
The
that's
curriculum.
right.
so what do you,
I would
well,
like to-
actually,
I'd
we're
like
gonna
to-
discuss it and to see if it goes to the committee of the whole or curriculum. So Matthew, go ahead.
Okay. Months ago, I made a presentation on electives through where kids could get college credit or certificates at any rate through National Fire Academy and the Emergency Management Institute. I'm not quite sure. I didn't make a referral at that time. I sent a note to everybody today by email, just kind of as a draft idea. Could we refer that to the curriculum committee to take a look at?
Yep.
Did you hear that, Phil? You got something coming your way.
Oh, yeah, I heard. Matt's
Okay.
leading the way, though. He just referred it to himself.
All right, anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Oppose, abstain, the motion is carried. It's now 7:40, and I would like to call the Board of Education in. You are more than welcome to leave if you would like to.
Sure, he has other things. Thank you very much.
Isaiah, thank you for coming.
Of course.
Congratulations again on
Yeah.
the.
All right.
King's Court.
So, Andrew,
I'm just.
all right, I've lost my quorum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I have 1,
Okay.
2, 3, 4, 5. I have a quorum. I am going to be calling it's 7:40 still, and I'm calling the special meeting to order. It's September 17th. And once again, it's 7:40. I am going to entertain a motion to approve the DODEA, which is the Department of Defense Education Activity World Language Grant that we spoke to on the Committee of the Whole. Can I please have a second?
I'll
I have a
second that.
second from William. Discussion. Do people have any other questions or concerns? I think I have placed you guys on all the emails that I sent to Jill Rusk, who is the RTM moderator, John Burt, and to Mayor Melendez, saying that we need to kind of move forward on this sooner than later. But do we have any questions about this grant? Because once we approve it, the reason why we're voting on it is that it's then we have approved it and then it goes to the town council and the RTM. Hearing no other discussion, all those in favor of the motion that's on the floor to approve the Department of Defense Education Activity World Language Grant, please say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion has been granted. All right. Granted to the grant. All right, congratulations to the Groton Public School for that. I'm looking weirdly on the board just to see who we have present for our upcoming meeting. And do we have Caitlin, do we have our attorney on yet?
Do you know what his number would, is it the number one right here?
I do not know.
All I have is Veronica and Lori Lapine,
Well,
Or LaPlane's coming into.
and that number is gone now, so no.
geez.
And Ted Kelleher may be joining us. He's got open house.
Oh,
So he's
right,
gonna try
right.
to, zoom in too.
Okay, so the dilemma is that this next agenda topic, which is the around the robotics, we need to have legal counsel, and he is not signed in yet. Do we?
He's gonna come in at 7:45, please.
He has 3 minutes. I just don't feel comfortable going into executive session until the reason why we're going into executive is to have legal counsel. So I am gonna just hold us until Floyd is there.
We're adjourned from the regular meeting, correct?
We're in a
Yes.
special meeting right
We're
now.
now in a special
We're
meeting,
Special meeting now.
and we've already had the vote for the World Grant.
And we did the DODEA. So that can go to town council. We're just waiting for Floyd.
Oh, my parliamentarian.
Kim,
is not-
could we go into an executive session so that we could start as soon as he comes in?
So my concern is that we are going into executive session for legal counsel. And so in
Yes, I
terms
know.
of freedom of information, not to go into executive session prior to our legal counsel gets to us
Okay.
feels not as comfortable for me. So my recommendation is that we hang out for a couple minutes before that. In the special meeting, Robert's rules, can we take a 2-minute break?
Yeah. I'm sure.
So can I just have, can I
If
have
we take a recess for
a couple,
4 minutes.
4 minutes? Do I need to have majority approval of that? Beverly or Rita, do you have an issue about that?
No.
Okay, all right,
No.
so, thank you. So we will be back in 4.
Yep.
All right, we're back from our recess. The third item is discussion and possible action of the robotics. And I would like to make a motion that we go into, please wait until I finish my invites. Is I would like to make a motion for us to go into executive session, inviting Lori Lapine, Board of Education lawyer, Floyd Dugas, Ted Kelleher, and Susan Austin.
And so, yeah.
Do you want Phil in?
I was gonna, and Phil Piazza. Can I have a second to that? All right, any discussion? All right, not hearing anyone, all those in favor of going into executive session with the people that were above mentioned, please say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? And I have an abstention with Matt. So that goes into Jones. Notes. All right, Kate, can you put us into a breakout room, please?
Yep, and Rita goes as well, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So I actually, it is Rita, Floyd, Beverly,
Mhm.
Lori, and Phil.
Okay,
Thank you.
Yep.
And Kim, if I may?
Yes,
you need-
please.
You need to state the basis for the executive session, and I believe it's to discuss an opinion of counsel.
Floyd, thank you. So do I need to redo the motion?
No, I think you just need to state that as the reason.
So, so the reason why we are going into executive session is, for,
Receive the opinion of council.
thank you, for receiving the opinion of counsel. Thank
I'd
you.
like to change my vote to yes.
Excuse me, Kim. I
Yes.
heard you say Matt abstaining.
He's now changed his vote to yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Bye, Joan. Bye, Miss Joan. Thank you. All right, Kate.
okay.
Thank you. I would like to make a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion has carried. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.